Time for the pitch. 5 presentations, 5 minutes, 5 big ideas, seeking inspiring ideas that will make the public service smarter, better and broader. Where have you heard that from before? And highlight innovation and leadership within public administration. So if you've seen the Gruen transfer, you know what the pitch is. And I imagine not many people in the room have not seen the Gruen transfer, and if you haven't, you're about to be entertained. Interest in the competition has been keen and high quality. So now we have 5 finalists who have 5 minutes each to deliver their pitch. One of the finalists, Daniel McNamara, was selected this morning. He won the Young Professionals Pitch competition at breakfast time, getting some early practice in. We have our judges here in the front row. Alex Malley, Chief Executive of CPA Australia, Stephen Sedgwick of the Australian Public Service Commission, and from IPAA ACT, Samantha Palmer from the Department of Health. So are you ready and nervous? All ready. So please welcome our first pitch maker. His name is Kate Bowmaker, our number 1 finalist. Kate's organisation is The Social Deck. She describes herself as creative, inspired and adventurous. Please welcome Kate.
My pitch today is an idea to connect the professionals of the public service with social good organisations. I'm the co-founder of The Social Deck, a PR agency focusing on public policy and social enterprise. But until a month ago, I was a public servant. And like many of you, I was one of those public servants who, while I loved my job, wanted to do more, wanted to help causes and work with other organisations. But I didn't know where to go or how to find that perfect pro bono project. I spoke to a number of my friends and colleagues about this, and many of them felt the same way. When I lived in New York a couple of years ago, I came across a platform called Catch a Fire that matched my professional skills with social good organisations, so I could give just a few hours of my time, but know that I was really helping that organisation and the people it was helping. So when I returned to Australia and the public service, I had the idea for Volunteer Deck. Volunteer Deck would be an online platform matching social good organisations with the professionals in the public service. It's not unlike the Jawan Indigenous Scholarship Program, which many of you may know. But instead of restricting it to a certain level or people who could leave home for 6 weeks, it opens up volunteer opportunities to all public servants and all types of social good organisations. I believe many public servants are passionate about causes and would love to give their time, but they're too busy, or maybe they just need a matchmaker. It's similar to an online dating site in that way. So here's how Volunteer would work in just 1 minute. It's an online platform. It takes awesome public servants and an awesome social good organisations. The social good organisation builds their profile. What sort of organisation are we? What is our cause? And what are our skill gaps? The public servant builds their profile. Who am I? Where do I work? What skills do I have? And how much time do I have to give? They can choose causes of interest and then rank those causes based on their interests. So we have a bunch of great public servants and great social good organisations on the one platform. But here's where the magic really happens. The not-for-profit creates a project. What do we need help with? How many hours will it take? And how many hours will it take? Volunteer Deck would help them to scope that project and vet the projects to make sure they're appropriate and the timing's right. The public servant, what we then do at Volunteer Deck is use algorithms and real people to match the projects with the public servants' profiles. If the public servant is interested, they would choose their project and apply to volunteer. And there's the Volunteer Deck match. So you've seen how it works, but what makes it different from other great sites like Pro Bono Australia's Volunteer, Match or Good Company? Well, besides being individualised, as I've already said, it could utilise existing databases of government employees rather than creating another database of people who might want to give. But it could also be integrated into existing professional development opportunities and programs. In government, it would work by employees choosing to put their time to a pro bono project, gaining a real-life experience in their professional development. We can create your own communities, we can calculate your pro bono hours, and keep people connected with milestones and track project hours. So you know, if you're a manager, how much time your staff are giving. So what's the business model? Well, for this to be sustainable, it needs to make money. But how do you make money from volunteering? There's two options we would consider. One is using corporate budgets, where staff choose to put their professional development allowance towards pro bono projects. The other could be having the social good organisations pay an annual fee or fee per project for staff's professional skills and time. So what I want to leave you with is what the value of volunteer debt could be, and to know that we need to look at the sums. If we took just 5% of 150,000 just Commonwealth public servants, and each of them in 1 year did a project worth 24 hours, that would be 180,000 hours. Based on an hourly rate of, say, an EL1, that would be more than 6 million in 1 year. If 1 in 4 employees did one project per year, that's almost $30 million. But there are other benefits, including that it could make spending public money more efficient and effective in the long run. But the most important metric for volunteer debt is relationships. The long-lasting and meaningful relationships built by our public servants and organisations doing good, helping people, protecting the environment and innovating for social change. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate, and I like the evidence-based policy that was all based on. I should say this is sponsored by CPA Australia, because I forgot to mention that. Alana Lynn is our second finalist. Alana is from the New South Wales Department of Premier and Cabinet, and she describes herself as adventurous, passionate and organised. Alana.
So thanks for having me here today. Across the country, there are many public administration and public policies, reforms and issues that are challenging and complex. As a public service, where's the thing? There it is. As a public service, we're expected to deliver and work on these, and to do this, we really need to have the best and the brightest people working on them. However, as noted by Elizabeth Broderick actually in a session a little bit earlier today, we continue to have a gender imbalance, particularly at senior levels. For example, again, just to re-quote some numbers, in 2012, although 57% of the APS workforce is female, only 39.2% of the SES are female, and at a higher level again, only 20% of departments are headed by women. Similarly, at a state level, it's a similar picture, in fact even slightly worse. In New South Wales, where I work, women make up 60% of the total public sector workforce in New South Wales, but only hold 25% of the SES positions. What this means is that although some of this is balanced as a legacy of history, and indeed the numbers are improving, it means that the pool of talent and people we have available to work on the really important ideas and challenges we're looking at is significantly limited. So what can we do about this? Family-friendly work environments and flexibility in the workplace have been found to result in workplaces that have higher numbers of women in senior roles. There are a lot of policies and mechanisms that could be used to deliver this, and all of them are important. But what I'm focusing on is actually job sharing. A number of studies examining workplace practices have found that between 60 to 80% of women would prefer an opportunity to work part-time or in job share roles. But such opportunities can be hard to find, particularly at senior levels. These roles are often not available on a part-time basis, or it may be difficult to find someone with whom you can share this role. So, for example, if you're looking at the numbers, only 4% of ongoing SES females in the APS, and then even less, 0.5% of SES males work less than a full-time role. So my idea is that you could develop a system that helps people find other people with whom they could apply for jobs with. There's sort of like, similar to the last idea, an online job matching service where people can look for potential job share partners to work with them or apply for other roles. I kind of think it as like a professional online dating system, which perhaps slightly less emphasis on flattering photos and pretty light and that sort of thing. Such a system could work across all levels of government or even beyond government. So if, for example, you find a EL2 role or an SES role that you're interested in, you could look online and see if you can find someone who sounds like they're interested in a similar role. Maybe meet up, see if you have similar interests, see if you have complementary or matching skills, and then perhaps decide if you want to apply together. This isn't a kind of system about changing the recruitment process necessarily, or even changing the merit selection. What it is about making it easier for people to find other potential people they can work with. So why would we want to do this? There really are a number of key reasons. The first is that governments and government agencies are serious about having a flexible workforce that fully utilises everyone's talents. Then there really needs to be new ways of working and new tools for individuals to find opportunities to let them work to their full potential. This kind of system also isn't solely directed at women. There can be many reasons that someone needs and wants to have a more flexible work arrangement. This could include family commitments, but also care responsibilities, study, health, volunteering, or even just a changing lifestyle as people move through their lives. The second reason is that although job sharing can come with some additional costs and some additional administration, it's also been found to come with really significant benefits. UK research has shown a 30% increase in productivity when a job is shared between two people. It also improves staff retention, continuity, and the more intangible benefits of actually having two people thinking out a problem instead of just one. And finally, I see this kind of mechanism as like a really small cog in a much bigger picture about driving gender equality in the workplace. This is an issue which was discussed earlier and is a really important one. If you've read in the papers lately, it's coming across everywhere. And driving gender equality can only bring major benefits to both the public sector and to public policy outcomes. So how do we get there? For this kind of online system to work, it really needs to be run by someone people can trust, people they can trust with their information, and trust to have the interests of individuals in the public sector at heart. Organisations such as IPAA, such as the public service commissions that are across the country, are all the kind of organisations that are well placed to lead the way in establishing this kind of service, where people can register, upload their details, and look for compatible matches. This kind of system should be relatively simple and inexpensive to put in place. There are a lot of online dating websites out there that we can use as models. But it also provides, more importantly, a tangible way for governments and agencies to lead the way in driving gender equality and demonstrate that they are serious about flexible work arrangements and about providing practical mechanisms for people to consider new career opportunities. Ultimately, whilst we also this needs to be accompanied by cultural change and acceptance of different flexible working arrangements, if we can make these kind of shifts, it has the potential to help ensure that we have the most diverse array of people working on the really difficult issues that we all face every day. Thanks.
I love the passion of these ideas. Well, now to Alex Roberts. Alex is from DesignGov and sees himself as passionate, determined and curious.
Good afternoon. I'm here to talk about how we could make the public service smarter, better and broader. I propose this could be done through the integration of massive open online courses into the public sector. The world is changing and it is changing fast. So we as public servants also need to change. We need new skills. We need to keep up with new insights. Yet it can seem hard to get the time and the space to undertake further learning and development. And in a changing world and in a changing public service, it can be hard to know what to learn and what will stay relevant. Yet these changes also bring new opportunities to change what we do and how we do it. Opportunities to change how we work with each other, and how we work with the public. As we've heard over the past 2 days, we need the active participation and support of our fellow citizens if we are going to be effective. Whatever the policy arena, we need people to work with us. So what might we do? What should we do? My pitch is that we take advantage of the opportunities offered by MOOCs, that we change how we support public servants learning new skills, and that we help provide citizens with the means to empower themselves. My pitch is that we introduce high-quality open and online courses developed around public sector processes, practices and priorities. My pitch is that we make these courses available to not only those of us in the public sector, but to the public at large. Our opportunity is to bring MOOCs to the public sector. What is a MOOC? It is a massive open online course. MOOCs are being offered by universities around the world. They can be social, involving online forums and discussions. They can be practical, teaching new skills and techniques. They can be inspirational, providing new insights and ideas. They can be accessible, making the complex graspable and chunkable. They can be scalable, being for a few or for the masses. I have undertaken a couple, including one on design. It provided expert lessons in a series of short videos. It taught me new skills that I could apply immediately. It was a course I did with a colleague in which we talked about and shared every week. It had online assessments marked by peers. It was one of the best courses I have ever done, taught by a global expert, and it was done in 8 weeks, and it cost me nothing, except time. There was quite a lot of homework in that one. There are MOOCs covering all sorts of topics, many relevant to the public sector. MOOCs are in every arena and every field. So why not the public sector? Imagine being able to easily access videos and supporting materials from some of the best in the public sector sharing their insights. Imagine being able to easily access the expertise of the best thinkers and practitioners. Imagine being able to easily learn about new disciplines and fields relevant to being a professional public servant. Imagine being able to easily access what we know in policy domains such as industry or the environment. MOOCs could cover the procedural, the professional, policy or programs. Now imagine being able to access such knowledge in a way that fitted with your work schedule, with your interests and at your convenience. Imagine also using such a platform to help educate and empower interested citizens. Imagine assisting individual citizens with the tools and knowledge to help them contribute and participate in addressing the problems facing Australia. How is this different? How is this better? I suggest it is better because MOOCs can be social. They can be done at the same time as colleagues. They can be done using forums or through meetups. They can be practical, focusing on the skills and public sector needs or on educating and empowering the public. They can inspire, giving rise to new ideas or by sharing the stories of citizens. They can be accessible, helping make the complex and the abstract real and relatable. They can be scalable for an agency, a part of an agency, or for the public at large. How might this be done? We're already doing parts of it, whether through training providers, online learning, or through conferences and events such as this. We already have the subject matter experts. We already try to educate and communicate with the public. But are these the most efficient ways, or could we leverage existing expertise and partnerships and funding? Could we increase the L&D options available to public sector staff? Could we broaden the understanding of what can be done and the number of people working with us to do it? I believe bringing MOOCs to the public sector offers an exciting new way to think about how we learn and share. I believe it can open up access to the insights and wisdom of the best minds to the many. I believe it can help us as we continue to reshape how we work with the public that we serve. So why not enrol in a MOOC and see whether you believe adapting them could make the public service smarter, better and broader. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Careful with that one, I might be out of a job. Now to Rhys Williams from New South Wales Family and Community Services. Rhys describes himself as civic-minded, strategic and non-conventional.
Thank you very much. As you can see, the title of my presentation is the Public Sector Employees Emergency and Disaster Relief Fund. So the pitch, excuse me while I get my glasses. My pitch then is to establish a system, an Australia-wide system where public servants, in all public sector agencies, it allows them to donate the after-tax dollar value of a self-nominated portion of their annual leave entitlement. The donation can be given to a general fund, or the public servant themselves can nominate a specific purpose. I think that there are three groups of potential beneficiaries. The first is government and government agencies. The second are the public servants themselves who do the donations. And the third are the people who benefit from the relief collection efforts. I'll come back to these 3 points shortly, but first of all, I'd like to give you an idea of how I envisage the system working. In this rather amateurish slide here, I've got a generic representation of public sector agencies' electronic leave management system, in which you apply for leave, annual leave, sick leave, long service leave. Every time a public servant goes into the leave management system, they get a tab reminding them about the leave donation system. Have you considered donating leave? By clicking that button, they can learn more about the system and how to donate leave. If they choose to press on the Donate Leave tab, they get three options. First of all, they can nominate how many days in half-day increments they'd like to donate. The second and third tabs are whether they want to provide a general donation or a specific purpose donation. The specific purpose donation would be a limited number of options based on contemporary need. So according to the ABS in 2010, we have 1.8 million public servants across Australia. Each has an average annual leave entitlement of 20 days, and the average annual salary for those public servants is $65,000. So across Australia, there is a financial provision of $9.2 million for public sector leave entitlements, and this is something that I would like to tap into. If just 1% of that 1.85 million public servants donates an average of 1 day of their annual leave entitlement, we will get an after-tax donation value of $3.5 million per annum. It will benefit the government in the possibility of reducing the reliance on emergency levies, such as the flood levy that we have currently. It will reduce the management in the excess leave policies, and it will reduce the financial provision for leave carried forward in government agency budgets. For public servants, I, as a public servant, would often like to donate more than I do in cash when I'm asked for relief funds. A generous donation for me is $20. On a very good day, if I have cashed up in my pocket, $50. However, I would not hesitate to donate 1 or 2 days leave, and the difference in my reality to donate and the potential capacity to help people in need between those two systems is really significant, even on my low salary. I think that most people are not so different to the way that I think. We're generous people, Australians. So the benefits are an enhanced ability to donate, a pride in the fund and the difference their donation makes to people in need. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. An additional way for public servants to manage their leave, and it provides them also with a tax deduction without any real cash cost out of their pocket. So for relief charities, they have funds immediately available, and they have the potential for greater collection to the system of out-of-pocket cash donations. I had this idea, first of all, a few years ago, and everyone I discussed it with thought it was a good idea, but I had no idea on how I could progress it. So I'd like to thank IPAA and the CPAA for the opportunity to give it greater exposure to this and other ideas presented here today. Thank you.
And our fifth finalist is Daniel McNamara from the Nous Group. Daniel won this morning's Young Professionals Network Breakfast competition amongst young professionals. With their pitches, he describes himself as imaginative, innovative, and interdisciplinary.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for letting me come and play with the grown-ups. I promise I'll behave myself. Although I don't have the experience and the sagacity of some of my senior colleagues, I have had the benefit of a dry run this morning. You're looking at a website. The website's called challenge.gov.au. It doesn't exist yet, only in our imaginations. And I just want to walk you through what it does and what it looks like. This is a whole of government hub for crowdsourcing challenges that are in the public interest. So you can see at the top of the page some of the key metrics we'd be looking at. How many users are there? How many competitions are running? How much prize money is being given away? And then on the left you can see some examples of the types of challenges that would be put forward. So you can see a local government initiative might be something to do with bus schedules. A larger initiative might be solving problems that protect the environment. You might have a health initiative which is using public health data in order to make medical breakthroughs. So these are the sorts of questions that you'd be putting up on challenge.gov.au. And you can see over on the right that you've also got a chance for participants to collaborate. So you've actually got a forum there where people can talk to each other and share ideas. So this idea already exists in one form in the US. They have a website called challenge.gov. And that site was launched by the Obama administration in 2010. Since then, they've been able to attract more than 200 competitions, 16,000 participants and $14 million in prize money. I think we could do something similar in Australia. You'd probably get the Department of Finance, which is responsible for procurement and some of the Gov 2.0 initiatives to lead the charge. And then you could create a whole of government hub, which would take into account federal, state and local levels. You could also roll in a number of existing crowdsourcing initiatives in Australia. For example, the GovHack Challenge, which runs each year and allows individuals to build apps with government data. You've got other programs such as Trove's document correction, crowdsourcing initiative. You could even roll in, for example, grants that are given out through GrantsLink, or here in the ACT, we recently launched the Digital Canberra Challenge initiative. So these are some of the things that could then be centralised in one hub. And the benefit you get from that is streamlining the process and also generating more publicity. And you could probably get a private provider to then actually build the platform for you. So let's think about the context that this would come in. Why would we do it? And I think the public sector in federally is at a crossroads under the new government, and cost cutting is obviously going to be on the agenda. So we've got sort of a challenge then. How do we keep the cost base of providing services to the public? How do we reduce it? On the other hand, how do we keep up the quality of the service delivery that we provide? And I think challenge.gov.au would help that on both fronts. On the cost front, what you're doing is you're directly accessing individuals and small and medium enterprises, and you're lowering the barrier of entry to them so that they are then able to participate in solving problems in the public interest. And you go beyond the big players and the usual suspects. So you've got a diversity of players in the market. And then on the high quality side, you get all the benefits from having those extra players. What you also get is that collaborative aspect. So as I mentioned, you could use the forum to allow individuals to connect with each other and form teams even when they're not in the same location. You could also have citizens actually propose challenges, so some of that ideation process could also be crowdsourced. And finally, you would then allow yourself to actually realise some of the kind of co-production and Gov 2.0 agenda that we've seen in the last few years. So on the one hand, this challenge.gov.au, it's quite specific in that it's suited to a particular class of problems that are in the public interest. It's not a replacement for all procurement. But on the other hand, when you think about it, I think the vision that it has for the future of the public service and public administration in Australia is actually quite disruptive, because instead of the government and a small number of firms dominating the provision of public service, they become more like a management administration function that then facilitates the public at large solving these problems. Thank you for the opportunity to present today.